I will tell you this. I'll tell you this. I kind of like it.
Yeah, it looks good.
I'm into it.
It's full. It's strong. It's a girthy a girthy beard,
When
man.
people think of me, I want them to think of girth. That's like the second thing I want them to think of.
It's the Crisco Kidd block party. Yeah.
He's on to some other projects, some other things. Besides producing records for some of the biggest artists in the planet, like, I don't know, Lady Gaga, our very own Pitbull. He's launched his own project. It is called SETSPACE, and we're talking about that today. Paul Blair, a.k.a. DJ White Shadow, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, baby. I appreciate it. It's nice to see you. You're looking good.
As soon as Phenom sent me the deck of what you have coming up with SETSPACE, I was like, not only do DJs need to hear about this, but people across the world, if you love music, fans of music, they got to hear about what you're doing.
I love that. I love the way you just set that up. That was a beautiful thing.
It's true.
I've been in the game for a really long time, longer than I care to imagine. A lot of it you can see in the girthy beard. You know, this was there. It just didn't exist 30 years ago. You know what I mean? But you know, in 2020, I got with some friends and talked about, like everybody else, when the world shut down, you start, you know, thinking of other stuff. You know what I mean? And so we were talking with some friends about like what we could do to contribute to the community as a whole, because everything I do in life somehow reflects on DJing, you know?
Right.
I continue to produce. I just did the new JoJo Siwa record that she put out. And I did I'm working on something pretty crazy for Jason Derulo that's coming up. I did a Mike Towers record last year. I've been pacing myself on the releases. You know what I mean? Just to keep people in the reminder that I'm still alive, I guess.
Yeah.
But DJing, you know, is something that like stays where it's at, and I owe a lot to DJs and DJing and just the culture. So we were thinking about like what we could do to help out DJs as a whole, and you know, music is contextualized a bunch of different ways, but DJs have been here since the very beginning, right? Since the very beginning, you know, people don't think of it this way, but the first time any advertising happened anywhere in the world, it was because of a DJ, right? A DJ played a song, then said, hey, run up to Mike's Hardware and get yourself a hammer, and then played another song, you know, on the radio. There was no advertising over any kind of airwaves before a DJ did it. You know why the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is in Cleveland, Ohio? Because of a DJ. His name is Alan Freed. He used to play what they called at that time race music, rock and roll. It was dirty, you know. Rock and roll was a euphemism for sex, juking and jiving, all that. And you know, middle America didn't want their kids listening to that. And a dude named Alan Freed, man, would not stop playing rock and roll out of Cleveland. Threw parties, got arrested, was a maverick. And so you go back into history and you look at all these mavericks that have changed the way that music works, right? Larry Levon at the Paradise Garage. A lot of people don't know that house music, you know, was born in Chicago. A lot of people don't know that, but like a lot of people don't know that it was born at the Warehouse, and that Larry Levon, while he was running Paradise Garage, was one of the biggest gay discos in New York, was roommates with Frankie Knuckles when he went to Chicago to start house music, right? Wow. So there's like a lot of history about DJs, a lot of stuff that gets passed off as, you know, not important. You know what I'm saying? And we're in this age right now where we're redefining what a DJ means. Like I look at some of the stuff that's happening nowadays, and like, just I want you to keep in mind, like, this is not like an old guy talking about stuff like the way it should be or the way whatever it is. I am an old guy, older anyway, and I'm not judging what's happening now, but it's different. And when things become different, you forget about the way that they were, you're doing a disservice to everybody, right? So when you have a stadium filled with 80,000 people and there's a $6 million light show, right? It's not the same as watching Jazzy Jeff play records, right? Those are both DJs. But you know what? A doctor that works on a horse and a doctor that works on a brain are also both doctors, but we understand the difference between those two doctors. Right. There's no context out there to understand the difference between what's going on at EDC and what DJ Pearly is doing with Scratch Bastard in Canada. Do you understand what I'm saying? I wanted to build something that essentially at first functions as a LinkedIn for DJs. There's no LinkedIn. If you click on any DJ's thing, it's like, here's 75,000 links pointing you to a million things that like it's literally like a hunt and gather mission to find out what people are about. What do you play? Where are you from? What do you like? What do you don't like? Like I want to start to like dive into what actually you love about your craft, right? Like, why do you love this, right? And so contextualizing the DJ was the first step of the mission, right? Introducing people that listen to music, the people that play music, that care about nothing more in life than to play music. Man, if I got a choice between listening to what Spotify gives me as the next thing up or listening to a guy that spent his whole entire career figuring out that a Biggie Smalls song was a Herb Alpert sample, you know what I mean, and who the bass player was on that and what else he played on, I want to ask that guy for his advice. I don't want, because I pick a country song on Spotify, that they give me another country song right after. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So the algorithm, as great as it is and as much service as it's done to the whole world, because the algorithm is great. Like there's a lot of stuff about technology. Music is technology, and there's a lot of great stuff about technology. But the one thing that we cannot lose is the human connection that has to happen between people when they're talking about music, right?
Yeah.
A human connection. I used to go to the record store, talk to my best friends were the dudes that's at the record store. You were the guy that called up, hey man, you got that new whatever for me? Yeah, I saved you one, blah, blah. I'll come up, and you go to the record store right now, you take 2 seconds to play a song. To hear a new song, I used to drive down to the record store and spend an hour and a half talking about like who was doing what and what was happening and ingesting all that information.
Right.
So,
and Paul, real quick, it was just National Vinyl Record Day. And so I was sharing stories about that same journey. Like it wasn't like you just click open a computer and you just stream it.
Yeah.
It was, and I think that's the fan connection with older artists too, because you had to wait in line for these albums to drop. As DJs, you had to wait for a certain white label to make it from overseas if you were playing house
100%.
music. And even at that, it was just the experience of going to the store and then even leaving your deposit so you can get the needle, so you can put it on a record to be able to hear in certain cases. So it was that connection. You had to build a relationship and experience to get music at a certain point. And I think a lot of us have lost that, whether you're a fan of music or you're a DJ as well.
Correct. And listen, I'm not like saying that we should still drive around with our bare feet hanging out the bottom like the Flintstones with wooden wheels on our cars or whatever.
Right.
Like there's things about technology that are great.
Of course.
Right? But it's an ebb and flow. Technology moves really fast and everybody gets super excited, and then we lose the humanity of it. And then before it's too late, you know what I'm saying? I want to make sure that everybody understands that, because it might not be appealing to a person who's 16 years old anymore to go wait. I remember when the 36 Chambers came out, I laid on a street corner for 24 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like met a bunch of people in line. That might not be what appeals to people today. We will hopefully never be in a state where people do not care about the human connection in music. And I just wanted to make something that paid tribute to the DJ, which to me is the most important figure in music. That the most underrated and most important figure in music is the DJ, right? To me. That should be to everybody. Yeah. But I also wanted to make something that didn't just acknowledge that and paid tribute to it, but was a useful tool to find out something that the algorithm can't program a heart or a brain. So where do you find a heart and a brain? Somebody out there that has spent their life building that heart and brain and loves what you love just as much, right? So this is more of like a connectivity tool for that as well. So let me just get back to 2 seconds and explain one more thing.
Yeah.
So you're an end user, you can find a DJ, you can follow a DJ. If you go out to a city where you don't have any idea what you're doing, I pop into Los Angeles, I've never been here before. I like a DJ in Chicago, I go out in Chicago. I can find DJs in LA that sound and feel and listen to the same thing as DJs in Chicago that I might not know, and go to a place based on that information versus going to a place on Yelp or a friend's recommendation where it's like, the hottest club in town might be Club X, right? Everybody's popping at Club X, right? And I go in and I got to listen to something I don't want to listen to. There's nothing more miserable than that. Paying $500 for $1,000 for a bottle and listening to some stuff you don't want to listen to. if somebody's playing a Tribe Called Quest tribute set at a Chinese restaurant in Reseda, I want to go there. You know what I mean? At least I want to know about it. Right. So it's like it adds value to the DJ, it adds value to the music, it adds value to the culture. And so when building this thing, that was the primary tenet. How do we get these guys back up on top? How do we get this thing back in the right order, right? And how do you build the idea of what a good DJ is and a bad DJ is, right? A lot of these DJs on the platforms now, right? And I'm not naming any names. I'm not even saying this is bad. I'm just saying it is what it is. Yeah. There's a lot of DJs that are extraordinarily good looking. The most handsome men of all time, right? Handsome women, handsome men out there DJing that started 3 months ago and have 500,000 followers. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like if I'm picking what club I'm going to go to based on that, do you understand? Versus based on, like, what am I going to the club for? Because if I want to see a really good looking person standing behind a table, like, I'll just go up to Saks and look at the lady at the perfume counter. You know what I'm saying? Or the guy at the guy. You know, I'll go to Equinox and check the guy out of the gym. Person standing behind a counter looking really good. There's a lot of options for that. It shouldn't be at the club. You see what I'm saying?
Unless you just happen to be both, then you got lucky. But
like yourself, I'm not dissing people like yourself.
Unless you're walking around with a great girthy beard, them other folks is what we talk about.
I'm better suited around December 24th to be like handing out presents at this point.
That's why you start making that extra money, that extra money. No, but Paul, I really love what SETSPACE is providing. Everything that you're saying, I think there has been a gap. I know there's been people that have attempted to do things, but they didn't do it right. And obviously they're not still with us, which opened that lane for you to do what you're doing. And the way that you're doing is something different that they didn't do. So I know you, and I know how great you are, meticulous you are, and how much attention to detail you pay. And I think that is going to make the difference with SETSPACE. So like you said earlier, whether you're the DJ or you're the fan, or you just love music, or you love the DJ, you want to hang out with certain vibes for that night or that day, and that's the experience you want. So I love the fact that it's not only curating the music and building a new algorithm to find what you want, but it's actually that experience. It feels like, it seems like what you're saying, that the end user or the curator is going to experience from SETSPACE.
Yeah, and the bonus for all of this is that it creates more opportunities for the DJ. It creates the opportunity to understand how much they're worth. There's other jobs on that. Most DJs I know, I put up a hotel down the street, right? Am I gonna like go plug in Spotify and like play any playlist of New Music Friday in the lobby? It's like I want to find a DJ in the area that likes what I like. I want to pay that person to tell me what to play in the lobby, right? Because everybody who designs a lobby isn't always the person that just should be designing the music. So it creates like other opportunities outside of DJing, right? That people might be suited for. In addition, and this is like the greatest thing about it, we're gonna have booking, we're gonna have tipping, we're gonna have all sorts of other ways that you can maximize your income with your skill set. And here's the great part, right? Here's my favorite part. The slogan that we have for this thing is built by DJs for DJs and music lovers. Built by DJs for DJs and music lovers. When I was a kid and I was out there DJing, I thought I had to have a manager, and you gotta get an agent, and you got all this stuff, and this guy's taking 20%, and this guy's taking 10%, and then you got home after you made your $500 and you got $250 left, right? Every transaction that we do on the site is going to be a flat fee, and it's going to be less than $20 every time we do it. I don't care if you book a job for $40,000. I'm going to take $20 from you to do it, and that's only because I need it to do it. The tipping thing is never going to have any kind of money coming out of your pocket. There's other apps that you can book DJs on. Other apps you can book DJs on. I do not care if I make a cent off this app. I don't care if I make a cent off this app. This is not about a money thing for me. It's not about like, hey, check this thing out. I'm about to be Steve Jobs and every DJ is going to remember me. If one DJ can contextualize his career, build a fan base that's authentic based on his choices in music or her choices in music and her skill level, how long she sat in the basement and practiced her turntablism. There are people that want to come out there and pay and see that, right? I want you to know who those people are, and I want them to want to pay you, right? And I want to sit back and say, Good job, everybody. Thanks for the $10. You know what I mean?
I love this. And as a matter of fact, I've already downloaded the app. You can go to SETSPACE.app. And so I guess right now you're making me feel like Gmail back in the day, to where you had to wait to get that invite. I have not got my email invite, but I did put my email in so that way I can get on the list. So when I receive my invite, I think you guys are doing something special right now. You got a big party coming up with, can I name drop right quick?
Name drop away, baby.
Will Ferrell, ladies and gentlemen. Swedish House Mafia is going to be there. White Shadow in the mix. Talk about the contest. Everybody that signs up at SETSPACE right now, how can we have the chance to attend that party and experience, like we say, the culture, other DJs, dope music, a good time with SETSPACE?
Yeah, so let me give you like 2 seconds of background on that, right? Like, so,
okay, yeah. I mean, how did this all happen, first of all? And then let's go together.
Through a friend, like Will hit me up and was like interested in like DJ culture. I assume, I don't want to put words or thoughts in, but like the same way that you're interested in NASCAR culture or figure skating culture or newsroom culture from the 70s, right? Like he was interested in like what makes this culture work, right? And so, you know, we exchanged some information and blah, blah, blah. And then last year, he's got a charity called Cancer for College. Great charity. You know, you can go to the website and read more about it. But his roommate in college had a incident where, you know, he got diagnosed in college and had to make a choice between either continuing his education or taking treatment, which is like not a great situation to be in.
No.
And as Will, you know, became the Will we know today, he has consistently and constantly like put up a show to raise money for younger college age people not to have to go through that process through this charity. And so he tapped me about doing something that this thing didn't pan out. Last year they did a show at the Greek. It was called Will Ferrell's Big Night Out. And it was like the craziest lineup of people of all time. I mean, music-wise, you know, Jack Black and Maya Rudolph did a Prince cover thing, and you know, Lindsey Buckingham, and like Mike McCready, like really big artists, right? So he called me. He was like, "We need somebody to open this show." You know, John Mulaney's there, John Hamm's there, the whole Smartless crew. It's like this insane. It's literally probably the best group of people I've ever stood around. I hung out with Joe Coy all night, like just great people. And so he was like, "We need something to open." And I was like, "Okay, well, let's find somebody." And it was tough because tours just started taking off again. You know what I mean? Like people started getting their tours back together. Like everybody's out doing their thing. And, you know, I called everybody I knew. "You want to open for this thing? You want to open for this thing?" And I got a tour. I got this. I got that and blah, blah, blah. So we couldn't find anybody. So I was like, "You just got to open this thing." Let's make a Prestige Worldwide banner and bring out John and let's do Boats and Hoes live. It's one of the greatest rap songs in the history of all hip hop music. and so he was like, "All right, cool. You know, let's do it." And we worked through it or whatever. There's no stems or like any kind of performance like stuff for that, like if it exists. So like I had to remake some stuff and rearrange some stuff or whatever. And halfway through, I was like, what? Let's reach out to Snoop and see if he wants to do like a mashup of like Gin and Juice and Boats and Hoes, and you guys can be each other's backup dancers. And lo and behold, you know, a month and a half later, I'm like doing sound check with Snoop and John C. Reilly and Will, which, by the way, the funniest, I'm going to give you just a sidebar. We had to read the lyrics to like a person that was typing them into a teleprompter. You know what I mean? To Boats and Hoes, which you don't really. You know, I heard the song like a bazillion times, but like when you're sitting there with Will, like reading them to like a 20-year-old person that's probably never even seen Step Brothers, and it's like, you know, it was like he got through like the third line, he was like, "Whoa, this is a dirty song." I was like, yeah, it is a dirty song. It's buck nasty. It's about as low as it gets, but it was, man, it was the funnest night ever. So we got done. And we finished the show, and everybody hung out till 5 o'clock in the morning at Sunset Marquee, and it was like a good time. And he was like, "What do you want to do next?" And I was like, "I want to throw the biggest house party anybody's ever thrown inside of an arena." And back to what I was just saying about, you know, 80,000 people over here and, you know, whatever over here. It's like people don't mix anything up. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like you either have a show with, you know, John Summit, or you know, or you have a show with D Nice or DJ Cassidy or you know, whoever. The twain shall never meet. And so I was like, when we were kids, somebody would jump up and play hip hop, and then somebody would jump up and play house, and somebody would jump up and do whatever. I was like, I want to recreate that environment. So I called everybody I knew. Derek D. Nice and I have been friends for 20 years, and I was like, dude, you got to get on it. I'm on it. A-Trak, I'm on it. You know, Felix the House Cat, I'm on it. So like Terrence Parker, like some of my heroes from when I was a kid, yo, get over here, I'm on it. You know, Terry Hunter, Grammy winning guy from Chicago. So we got house music, we got electronic, you know, all the way down to R&B. I got the captains of industry from right here in LA are going to do a yacht rock set. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to figure out how to mess with everybody more than they've ever messed with. And as an addition, Will's hosting the whole thing, just as an FYI. And so there are people that aren't on that flyer that are going to pop up out of a hat, and you know, I don't know who, you know, Jimmy Fallon playing a saxophone. I don't know what's going to happen exactly. I don't know if that's going to happen, but something weird. I guarantee you that it's going to be worth going to, and just about as weird as it gets when it comes to a party. Which is
and he's been on fire, man. Whether he's showing up as Will Ferrell or showing up as Ron Burgundy. I mean, it's got to be a night on a whole nother level, and we can't wait for that, man. And I'm sure you chose Chicago because earlier we were talking about, you know, the birthplace of house music. Like Chicago, known for parties, they're known for house music. And I mean, was that your choosing of the city? Was that his, or did it kind of come together as like this just feels like it should be here?
I mean, I know this is probably sacrilegious because I'm sitting in Los Angeles right now, but Chicago is one of the best cities in the whole wide world. You know what I mean? And all electronic music that you know in its current iteration came from Chicago or Detroit. That the Midwest is where electronic music in its current form was born. Techno in Detroit, house in Chicago. Everything else comes from those two streams. So I found a great venue in Chicago. It takes me 20 minutes to drive there, so it's a lot easier to plan than having to fly somewhere else. But I got a lot of friends in Chicago. It's the 40th anniversary of the birth of everybody knows that hip hop 50 years old. The house 40 years old this year. It's the 40th anniversary of house music. And so, you know, house music started with a party, and we're going to throw a party. That's about it, the size of it.
There it is.
It's for charity. The whole thing's for charity.
Yeah. And that's the best thing about it. Paul Blair, White Shadow, man. Thank you for joining us today. Once again, we got to get everybody to SETSPACE, from DJ to the fan. If you love music, you want an experience curated for you, like seriously, where you can have the relationship with the DJs that you want to follow, with the music that you want to be a part of, with the parties you want to go to. You need to be a part of SETSPACE. One more time, White Shadow, tell them where you want them to go and tell them about the contest, how they can enter one more time.
Man, yeah, it's SETSPACE.app, www.setspace.app. Go and sign up. We're going to give away some tickets at the venue. SETSPACE is going to be set up to do some things for the first time. We're going to start releasing the codes and everything right before the show in October. It's really exciting, and I'm hype about it. Thank you for calling me in and asking me to talk about it. I really, really appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate you for doing for all of us, man. Thank you so much. White Shadow!
All right, brother. Thank you.